Few artists have painted the world's cultural canvas with colors as vivid and enduring as Elton John. His fingers dancing across piano keys have given us melodies that have become the soundtrack to our lives, from the tender balladry of Your Song to the triumphant defiance of I'm Still Standing. With over 300 million records sold worldwide, 5 Grammy Awards, an Academy Award, and a knighthood, Sir Elton Hercules John stands as one of music's most unshakable pillars. The boy from Pinner who transformed himself into a sequined supernova has influenced generations of artists and brought joy to millions. But behind the dazzling spectacle and beneath the feathered costumes lies a story of profound pain, devastating losses, and a battle that continues to this day. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like as a gesture of tribute to this extraordinary talent. At 77, Elton John carries the weight of a lifetime spent in the spotlight, a journey marked by spectacular triumphs and crushing defeats. Recent appearances have shown a man battling the inevitable march of time, with mobility issues requiring him to use a wheelchair at times. Though he completed his farewell tour, Farewell Yellow Brick Road, in 2023, concerns about his health have continued to circulate among fans. The man who once bounded across the stage with explosive energy now moves with careful deliberation, each step a testament to the physical toll of decades spent performing. His voice, though still powerful, carries the beautiful weathering of age and experience. Yet even now, as he navigates the challenges of his 8th decade, Elton's story remains one of resilience in the face of adversity, a pattern established long before the world knew his name. What happens to a sensitive child born into a home where tenderness is treated as weakness? For Reginald Kenneth Dwight, born on March 25, 1947, in Pinner, Middlesex, England, the answer would shape the course of his life. The modest home at 55 Pinner Hill Road held little warmth. His father, Stanley Dwight, an RAF officer, remained emotionally distant, while his mother, Sheila Eileen, ruled the household with unpredictable moods and harsh criticism. Young Reggie lived in a world of walking on eggshells, never knowing what might trigger his mother's temper or his father's disapproval. The family's semi-detached house became a battlefield of unspoken tensions. Reggie would later recall how he could feel the atmosphere change when his father entered a room, the air growing heavier, conversations dying to whispers. His childhood bedroom became both sanctuary and prison, a place where he could escape the conflicts below but never truly feel secure. In this environment of emotional austerity, the boy found solace in one remarkable gift that would ultimately become his salvation: an uncanny ear for music. At just 4 years old, Reggie stunned his family by playing The Skater's Waltz by ear after hearing it once on the radio. The piano in the front room became his confidant, the only place where he could express emotions that were otherwise suppressed. His grandmother, Ivy, recognized his talent and encouraged him to pursue formal training. The weekly piano lessons became the highlight of his existence, a structured escape from the unpredictable emotional landscape of home. When his parents divorced when he was 14, the fracture only deepened his sense of abandonment. His mother remarried a local painter named Fred Fairbrother, whom Reggie affectionately called Durf, Fred spelled backward. Durf provided the boy with something his biological father never had: unconditional support. Yet the wounds of his early childhood, the criticism, the emotional coldness, the feeling of never being quite enough, had already formed scars that would follow him throughout his life. Church on Sundays offered another respite. The soaring hymns and the way music united strangers in common purpose fascinated young Reggie. In the church choir, his voice could blend with others, creating something larger than himself. This early experience of musical communion planted seeds that would later blossom into his legendary live performances, moments when thousands of strangers could be united through his music. But in those early days, no one could have predicted the heights to which this awkward, overweight boy with thick glasses would eventually climb. His childhood had taught him that love was conditional and acceptance had to be earned, lessons that would drive him to seek validation on an unprecedented scale. The road from Reginald Dwight to Elton John was paved with rejection slips and half-empty clubs. After leaving school at 17, he took a job as an office boy at a music publishing company while playing piano in pubs on weekends. The gigs at the Northwood Hills Hotel paid barely enough for bus fare, but they gave him something more valuable than money: experience. Night after night he would play to indifferent crowds, learning how to read a room, how to win over the uninterested, how to transform ambient noise into attentive silence. When he joined the band Bluesology in the mid-1960s, success seemed tantalizingly close, yet stubbornly elusive. The band served as backup for touring American soul artists, including Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. While this provided steady work, Reggie remained invisible in a world obsessed with spotlights. He was the pianist in the shadows, the talented session musician that no one remembered after the show. In 1967, responding to a talent search advertisement in the New Musical Express, he met Bernie Taupin, a young lyricist from Lincolnshire. Their initial compositions were rejected with disappointing regularity. Music executives praised their technical skill but questioned their commercial viability. One publisher reportedly told them, "Nice melodies, but the lyrics don't make sense." Another said they were too complex for the average listener. During these lean years, Elton, who had now adopted his stage name, combining the first name of Bluesology saxophonist Elton Dean with the last name of their vocalist, Long John Baldry, survived on baked beans and shared accommodations. He and Bernie lived with Elton's mother and Durf in their small flat in Northwood, Middlesex. The walls of his bedroom were plastered with rejection letters that he kept as both motivation and punishment. The industry's indifference cut deeply for someone whose childhood had taught him that love had to be earned through achievement. Each rejection reinforced the voices of doubt that had been planted by his father's emotional absence and his mother's critical nature. Yet something in Elton refused to surrender. Perhaps it was the stubborn resilience forged in the crucible of his childhood home, or perhaps it was simply that he couldn't imagine a life without music at its center. Whatever the source, this determination would soon encounter a moment that would alter the trajectory of his life forever. It happened in 1969, when Elton was performing a set of original material at the Troubadour Club in Los Angeles. Though he and Bernie had secured a record deal with DJM Records the previous year, they were still relatively unknown. The tiny club was filled mainly with industry insiders and curious music aficionados. As Elton took his place at the piano that night, he was just another hopeful artist trying to make an impression in a city that had seen it all. What happened next has become the stuff of music legend. From the moment his fingers touched the keys and his voice filled the room, something electric passed between performer and audience. His energetic performance style, a stark contrast to the introspective singer-songwriters of the era, captivated everyone present. He didn't just play the piano, he attacked it, coaxed it, made it an extension of his emotional state. He ended the set by kicking away his piano stool and playing while standing, his feet barely touching the ground. Robert Hilburn of the Los Angeles Times wrote a review that would change everything. Tuesday night at the Troubadour was one of those nights when there is electricity in the air and the artist on stage can do no wrong. Suddenly, the invisible session musician was visible. The rejected songwriter was embraced. The awkward boy from Pinner was reborn as a star, and that's when everything changed. Within months, Elton John went from playing to indifferent crowds to selling out venues across America. His self-titled album, released in April 1970, climbed the charts, propelled by the haunting simplicity of "Your Song." The industry that had once dismissed him now clamored for his signature. The public that had once ignored him now queued for hours to secure tickets to his shows. The 5-year period that followed represents one of the most prolific and successful runs in music history. Between 1970 and 1975, Elton released an astonishing 10 albums, including classics like Honky Chateau, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. During this period, he had 7 consecutive #1 albums in the United States, a record that stood unbroken for decades. His live performances became the stuff of legend. The shy boy who had once hidden behind a piano transformed into a flamboyant showman, sporting increasingly elaborate costumes and spectacles. From the feathered headdresses to the platform boots, from the star-shaped glasses to the sequined jumpsuits, Elton created a visual language as distinctive as his musical one. These weren't mere costumes, but armor, protection for the vulnerable Reginald Dwight, who still lived within the Elton John persona. The work ethic behind this success was astonishing. Elton and Bernie could write and record an album in mere weeks. Their creative partnership functioned with almost telepathic efficiency. Bernie would write lyrics, Elton would set them to music, often in a matter of hours. This productivity wasn't just about commercial success. It was about outrunning the demons of self-doubt and seeking validation through achievement, a pattern established in childhood and now playing out on a global stage. By 1975, Elton John had become not just a musician, but a cultural phenomenon. His concerts at Dodger Stadium, where he performed to more than 100,000 people over 2 nights, marked the pinnacle of his commercial success. Dressed in a sequined Dodgers uniform, he commanded the massive crowd with the confidence of a veteran performer. The awkward boy from Pinner had conquered the world. But at what cost? Behind the sequins and beneath the platform boots, Elton was crumbling. The years of relentless touring, recording, and public appearances had taken their toll. Isolated by fame and increasingly dependent on cocaine and alcohol to maintain his frenetic pace, he was losing touch with the music that had once been his salvation. His personal life offered little respite from professional pressures. A brief marriage to Renate Blauel in 1984 ended in divorce after 4 years, further confirming Elton's growing realization about his sexuality. Though he had had relationships with men before the marriage, the public scrutiny of the 1980s made honesty a dangerous proposition for a global superstar. The death of Ryan White in 1990 marked a turning point in Elton's life. The teenager, who had contracted HIV through a blood transfusion and had become a national symbol in the fight against AIDS stigma, formed a close bond with Elton during his final years. Attending Ryan's funeral, Elton was struck by the dignity and love of the White family despite their immense grief. Their strength in the face of tragedy held a mirror to his own self-destructive behavior. "Ryan's death gave me the impetus to change," Elton would later say. Within months, he checked himself into rehabilitation for addiction to cocaine, alcohol, and food. The recovery process forced him to confront not just his substance abuse, but the deep-seated insecurities and unresolved childhood traumas that had fueled it. This period of personal reckoning coincided with professional setbacks. The 1980s and early 1990s saw Elton's commercial appeal wane as music trends shifted. Albums that had once been guaranteed chart toppers now struggled to find audiences. Critics, who had once hailed him as a genius, now dismissed him as a relic of a bygone era. The death of Princess Diana in 1997 brought another wave of grief. Their friendship had been one of mutual understanding and support. At her funeral, Elton performed a reworked version of Candle in the Wind that captured the nation's mourning and became the best-selling single of all time. Yet this commercial success was cold comfort for the loss of a dear friend who had accepted him without judgment. Throughout these years, Elton's relationship with his mother remained strained. Despite his global success, Sheila's approval remained elusive. According to those close to Elton, she continued to criticize everything from his music to his personal life. The pair would go through periods of reconciliation followed by bitter estrangements. Their final reconciliation came only shortly before her death in 2017, closing a chapter of complicated love that had shaped so much of his emotional landscape. But here's where it gets complicated. While navigating these personal storms, Elton was simultaneously using his platform and resources to help others. In 1992, he established the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which has since raised over $450 million for HIV/AIDS programs worldwide. The foundation became not just a philanthropic endeavor, but a purpose that transcended his musical career. His journey toward self-acceptance also led him to unexpected joy. In 1993, he met David Furnish, a former advertising executive who would become his partner, husband, and steadying force. Their relationship, formalized first as a civil partnership in 2005 and then as marriage in 2014, when same-sex marriage became legal in England, gave Elton something his tumultuous early life had lacked: stability. Parenthood came later in life, with the birth of their son Zachary in 2010, followed by Elijah in 2013. For someone whose own childhood had been marked by emotional deprivation, the opportunity to create a loving family environment represented healing of the deepest kind. Friends and associates describe how fatherhood softened Elton, bringing out a tenderness and patience that surprised even those who had known him for decades. This family life coincided with a creative renaissance. The 2019 biopic Rocket Man, which unflinchingly portrayed both his triumphs and struggles, introduced Elton to a new generation. His farewell tour, launched in 2018 and concluded in 2023 after COVID-related delays, became one of the highest-grossing tours in history. The man who had once feared irrelevance found himself celebrated not just as a legacy act, but as a living legend whose music continued to resonate across generations. Yet this period of personal fulfillment and professional renaissance has been shadowed by health concerns. In 2017, Elton contracted a serious bacterial infection while touring in South America, resulting in an extended hospital stay. In 2021, he suffered a fall at his home that required surgery and physical therapy. These physical challenges, combined with the natural effects of aging, have necessitated adaptations to his once energetic performance style. Now, if you're wondering why Elton John decided to embark on a 3-year farewell tour instead of simply retiring quietly, the answer lies in understanding the man behind the music. Performance has never been just a profession for Elton. It has been his most authentic form of communication. On stage, the insecure boy from Pinner becomes the confident maestro. The rejected songwriter becomes the beloved entertainer. To surrender the stage is to surrender a core part of his identity. The decision to make the Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, his last, was reportedly influenced by his desire to be present for his children during their formative years. After decades of putting his career first, family has become his priority. "I've been traveling since I was 17, Elton explained in interviews announcing the tour. The time is right to say thank you to all my fans around the world and then to say goodbye. This shift in priorities represents perhaps the most profound evolution in Elton's journey. The man who once sought validation through record sales and sold-out arenas now finds it in the simple moments of family life. According to those in his inner circle, nothing brings him more joy than everyday activities with his sons, helping with homework, attending school events, or simply sharing meals together. Yet questions persist about whether this retirement from touring will be permanent. Artists of Elton's stature often find the lure of the stage difficult to resist completely. Las Vegas residencies or one-off special events could provide opportunities to perform without the grueling schedule of a world tour. For now, however, Elton appears committed to his decision, focusing on his health and family while continuing to create music and support causes close to his heart. The relationship between Elton John and David Furnish stands as one of music's great love stories, a partnership that has weathered public scrutiny, professional pressures, and personal challenges. What began as a dinner date in 1993 has evolved into a 30-year relationship that encompasses not just romantic love, but creative collaboration and shared humanitarian goals. David's influence on Elton's life extends beyond the personal. As CEO of Rocket Entertainment Group, which manages Elton's career, and chairman of the Elton John AIDS Foundation, he has helped shape both the business and philanthropic aspects of Elton's legacy. This integration of personal and professional spheres has created a partnership where each aspect of their lives reinforces the others. Their sons, Zachary and Elijah, born via surrogate, have brought a new dimension to Elton's understanding of love. For someone whose own childhood provided a master class in how not to parent, fatherhood represented both challenge and opportunity. By all accounts, Elton has embraced this role with characteristic intensity, determined to provide his children with the emotional security he lacked. The family divides their time between homes in England, France, and the United States, creating a cocoon of normalcy within the extraordinary circumstances of Elton's fame. Despite their wealth and status, friends report that Elton and David strive to instill values of hard work, empathy, and gratitude in their sons. The boys attend regular schools and are expected to complete chores and homework like any other children. This found family extends beyond the immediate household. Elton maintains close friendships with figures from across the entertainment industry, many dating back decades. These relationships provide another form of stability in a life that has known extreme fluctuations. From longtime collaborators like percussionist Ray Cooper to friends like Victoria and David Beckham, Elton has cultivated a circle of trust that serves as an extended family. His reconciliation with Bernie Taupin, following a period of estrangement in the late 1970s, restored one of the most important creative partnerships in popular music. Their collaboration, which has now spanned more than 5 decades, represents a rare constancy in the ever-changing landscape of Elton's life. Bernie's lyrics continue to provide the framework upon which Elton builds his musical worlds, a testament to the enduring power of their creative connection. As Elton navigates his late 70s, health concerns have become an increasingly prominent part of his narrative. Recent appearances show a man battling the physical limitations that come with age and decades of hard living. The use of a wheelchair at times, though reportedly temporary and related to specific injuries, has sparked concern among fans accustomed to his energetic stage presence. In 2021, Elton postponed European dates on his farewell tour after suffering a fall that resulted in hip injury requiring surgery. The recovery process was complicated by his age, necessitating an intensive rehabilitation program. I have been advised to have an operation as soon as possible to get me back to full fitness and make sure there are no long-term complications, he explained to fans at the time. This physical vulnerability represents a profound shift for someone whose persona has been built on vitality and excess. The man who once performed handstands on his piano must now carefully manage his energy and mobility. Yet even in these challenges, Elton's characteristic resilience shines through. He completed his farewell tour despite these setbacks, determined to fulfill his commitment to fans around the world. Beyond the visible physical challenges, sources close to Elton suggest he battles the invisible effects of decades of substance abuse and extreme lifestyle. Though he has been sober since the early 1990s, the toll of years of cocaine use, alcohol consumption, and eating disorders has left its mark. These health considerations reportedly inform many of his current life choices, from diet to travel schedules. Yet alongside these concerns, there are encouraging signs. Elton's voice remains remarkably preserved, a testament to both natural gifts and careful stewardship. Recent recordings demonstrate that while the man may move more slowly, his musical abilities remain largely intact. This preservation of his essential artistic tool provides some comfort amid worries about his overall health. In interviews, Elton approaches the subject of aging and mortality with characteristic candor. "I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of dying," he told one journalist. "I want to see my children grow up." This sentiment captures the poignancy of his current situation, a man who found his greatest happiness later in life, now racing against time to enjoy it as fully as possible. His health journey has become public in ways both intentional and unintended. Paparazzi photos of hospital visits spark speculation, while Elton himself has used his platform to advocate for health awareness, particularly around AIDS prevention and treatment. This openness represents a stark contrast to earlier eras when celebrities' health issues remained strictly private matters. What gives these health challenges additional resonance is the context of Elton's remarkable late-career renaissance. After periods of critical dismissal and commercial decline, the past decade has seen a re-evaluation of his contributions to popular music. The success of Rocket Man, his autobiography Me, and the farewell tour demonstrate a level of cultural appreciation that eluded him during previous periods of his career. This reclamation of his legacy coincides with a personal contentment that friends describe as unprecedented in his life. After decades of searching for happiness through external validation, Elton appears to have found a measure of peace in family life and focused creative work. The tragedy, perhaps, is that this hard-won equilibrium comes at a time when physical limitations increasingly constrain his ability to enjoy it fully. Could anyone have predicted that the shy boy from Pinner would become one of music's most enduring icons? That the pianist playing to indifferent pub crowds would one day fill stadiums across the globe? That the man who struggled so publicly with addiction and self-acceptance would become a beacon of hope for millions? Elton John's journey embodies both spectacular achievement and profound human struggle, a reminder that even our most celebrated cultural figures navigate the same fundamental challenges as the rest of us. As he enters this chapter of his life, Elton John leaves behind a musical legacy that defies simple categorization. His catalog spans rock, pop, soul, country, and classical influences, all unified by his distinctive piano style and vocal delivery. Beyond the hits that dominate radio playlists, deep cuts reveal a musicianship and emotional range that transcend the constraints of pop stardom. From the intricate arrangements of Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding, to the raw vulnerability of Someone Saved My Life Tonight, his work offers a panoramic view of human experience. His influence extends far beyond his own recordings. As a mentor to younger artists, from George Michael to Lady Gaga, he has helped shape subsequent generations of musicians. His early recognition of talents like Eminem and Ed Sheeran demonstrates an ear that remains attuned to evolving musical landscapes, even as his own work draws primarily on classical and roots traditions. The Elton John AIDS Foundation represents a humanitarian legacy as significant as his musical one. Through both high-profile fundraising events and quieter grassroots programs, the foundation has helped shift the conversation around HIV/AIDS while providing practical support to affected communities. This work, inspired by personal loss and his own journey toward self-acceptance, ensures that Elton's impact will continue beyond his musical career. For all his accomplishments, perhaps Elton's most meaningful achievement lies in his evolution as a human being. The journey from insecure Reginald Dwight to confident Sir Elton, from addiction to sobriety, from isolation to family life, offers a testament to the possibility of growth and healing at any stage of life. His willingness to share this journey through his music, his foundation work, and his public statements has provided comfort and inspiration to countless individuals facing their own struggles. As fans, we find ourselves in the bittersweet position of celebrating this extraordinary life while acknowledging the inevitable limitations of time. Each appearance now carries additional significance. Each new recording becomes part of a concluding chapter rather than an ongoing narrative. Yet in this poignancy lies a beautiful reminder of life's precious impermanence, a theme that has run through Elton's music from the beginning. If Elton John has taught us anything, it's that our wounds need not define us, that pain can be transformed into art, struggle into strength, rejection into resilience. The boy who once sought approval through achievement has become a man who understands that true validation comes from within, that authentic connection matters more than acclaim, that giving to others fulfills deeper needs than receiving applause. So here's to Sir Elton John, pianist, composer, performer, philanthropist, husband, father, survivor. May his journey continue with as much grace, creativity, and love as possible. And may we all find inspiration in a life that reminds us it's never too late to become who we might have been. If his music has ever touched your heart or lifted your spirit, leave a like as a small gesture of gratitude for the soundtrack he has given to our collective lives. After all, as one of his early classics reminds us, music has the power to heal, to connect, and to make us feel a little less alone in this vast universe we all share.